Welcome to ULUWUA. You live, you work, you art.
Hello, I am Carol from ULUWUA, and in this occasion I want to talk to you about a book that little did I know that when I bought this book, that it would be of so much help. It's in Spanish, in understanding about behavior. It's biology of the behavior. It's the theory of Konrad Lorenz and Paul Leyhausen. Okay. When I found this book, I actually spent, I think, I don't know, like 15 minutes or so deciding if it was worth my time of reading and buying it. And actually, when I was looking today for it, I thought it was in English, but then I realized, no, I have it in Spanish. And this book is really interesting because though it talks about mainly about cats or mammals, not only cats, but also about other animals, about, for example, about some birds also. You can see maybe some pictures about the behavior of these animals. And I'm not going to talk about it, but I learned two specific concepts about intuition and instinct, because at first I used them interchangeably. And I said, for example, I don't know, I have the instinct to do something, and also intuition. I have this intuition and I will do other thing. But actually, according to this book, that I know this is a theory, and some theories have been debunked or revoked, or some people have other theories on how mammals or how we work from the animal world, how we behave. But I found it really interesting because I could understand the difference between intuition and instinct. And that's what we are going to talk about today. Also, we will be talking about improvisation, but it will be after we talk about these two features, we could say, that we have as human and also animals. So what I learned in this book, instinct, we could say that instinct is an innate, so it's inherent of us mammals or humans, and it's unconscious, and it comes from biology, because it's about biology. It comes from inside of us. It's like a pattern of behavior that we have it from the moment we are born. And it drives us to act in certain ways. However, intuition is something we learn. It could be a perception, an insight. It could be something that comes from not only from instinct, that could be based on instinct, but also it comes from reflection and from knowing and from this gut feeling that we call it. But it's because of our past experiences. So we don't have, or we could say that intuition is not fully developed when we are babies, for example. So those are the main distinctions we can make from one word to the other. And there are some other things. For example, we could talk about what are the difference between the two, because animals are fully instinctive, but they don't have intuition, and we humans do, because as I say, we learn from our past experiences, so we can have intuition, but animals can't. So they are just pure instinct. And another thing is intuition. Instinct is related to our survival. It's primal. Instinct is focused on our survival and also reproduction. which are the two most important, we could say, goals of to conserve our species, to survive and be able to reproduce. So that's instinct, and that is also in us humans, but we can uh, model it, or we can modify it, we can change it and adapt to our own needs, to our own preferences, because we can add a new level, which is intuition. So intuition is more focused on decision making, problem solving, deciding our preferences. And as I said before, it comes from our past experiences. So it's like another level. We could say it's a higher level. I don't know if there are levels. That's how I see it. And another thing is that instinct is instant, is rapid, is unconscious. You don't think, you just go and do something. For example, it's super for us humans, it's super important to have this instinct also, because when there's a problem, when there's a dangerous situation, we are maybe in front of a bear or in front of a lion, we can have this instinct of, I don't know, running or doing whatever we feel like in the moment that we have to do, because it comes from us, from, we could say, even our bones, our biology is how we are wired to act. And however, intuition is something that we reflect, we grow up gradually on how to be more intuitive. And regarding intuition, I read the other day, I've been reading several people saying, or listening to people saying this kind of thing, like, for example, it was based on a strategy, and they were talking about strategy, and they said strategy cannot be intuitive. And that got me thinking, and I think that is this because this misconcept or this misunderstanding that intuition and instinct are the same, but they are not actually the same. So we could say now, having made this distinction, that intuition, or for example, you can have a strategy based on intuition because it is based on your past experiences and all the things that you have learned how to do better or how to work on. Which also, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a process. Maybe you have first an intuition, you have an insight, and you say, okay, I'm going to do this because I know from my gut that I have to do this and this and this. But then you can translate it to a process. So I don't think that you have to just dismiss intuition because you cannot replicate it. I do think you can replicate it in a process, for example. So we are mixing now different words. Again, as we did in the past episode about art meeting business. So yes, if you want to read this book, I found it super interesting. It's a little bit hard to read because they have a scientific language about biology, about the bones, about all the kind of things that I wasn't fully aware or fully knowledgeable in the moment that I read it. But I do recommend it if you like knowing more about biology and our behavior and that kind of thing. And it is mostly focused on aggression, fear, and freedom, and how we act as human on that. So if you want it, and if you can find it, maybe in English, I think you can find it also. I haven't looked up. And now that I said about a strategy versus yes, versus or based on your intuition, could the strategy be based on instinct? And maybe, but I think pure instinct is just I think they are for, you say basic emotions. I'm just saying things that I don't know because I'm not a behavioral whatever study you have to say that. But I think that instinct gets you to get out your more primary emotions, which are we will talk about emotions in another episode. But for example, anger, fear. Could say another one is tenderness. So those are things that just come instinctively again, and I don't think they can directly translate into a process or into a strategy. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't think that. I think it has to do more with intuition. Well, we just have established what instinct is. I won't be talking, as I said, specifically about emotions without instinctive or inherent to us as humans. But I will be talking more on intuition now. And I think in business specifically, in art, it's like super common to say, okay, I am doing this instinctively, by intuition. And I don't know, I'm figuring out how to build this sculpture based on my intuition, on the things I want to do, my preferences, and also about past learnings, because I know, for example, that this color goes perfectly with this other color and I can combine them, or because I like to combine those colors, and for my art I prefer to do that, or because I like to, when I make a choreography, for example, maybe with body movements, you can use more instinct because you are actively using maybe more primate movements, you could say. So yeah, it's not a completely separate concept. It's something that you build upon. You build upon instinct, then you build your intuition, and based on your intuition, you can build your improvisation, that we will talk later. But as I was saying, in art, we are so used to applying our intuition, and it's in art we are super used to using our intuition in the things we do, in our movements, in our rhythm, and our communing with the music, with our partners, if we are dancing, for example, in a group, or if we are doing collective art. But in business, there's like a whole another topic. And even though more than 30 years now, maybe, people have started to talk about intuition, about emotions, and all that kind of things in the business area, I think it is, or from my experience, I think it's a little bit like looked upon now. It's like, I don't want to go into those topics, or those are topics for women, I've heard also. And that's not exactly right from my point of view, of course, as we have been talking about, because it's something that you are building upon your experiences. And even if you are a girl, a guy, or whatever gender you consider you are, or I don't know, if you are a person, you will have this intuition. Maybe you haven't realized now that you have it already, because you have been building it through the years, but maybe you are not conscious that that's intuition. You haven't had the time, or haven't put yourself to think about what intuition really is. Or maybe you think because it's talked in places like, I don't know, in meditation, or I don't know, with mindfulness and that, and you think you have to be some guru to really understand what intuition is. But no, it's inherent to you as human. You have the capacity to be intuitive, even though you think you are not. And how does it apply to business or to our work? And as I said before, we are building our intuition, we are building upon our experiences. And if we start to be more conscious about that, we could get even better intuition for ourselves, because we can, for example, make retrospective or have in our mind palace or in our cottage, in cottage mind, we can have this kind of conversation or insights or understanding. If I'm doing something, maybe I could stop and say, okay, I am doing this. Why? Is it because I have the intuition to do it? Is it because just I took action instinctively? And consider these things for yourself inside of your mind and understand how you are operating. And more importantly, or at least how I see it, more importantly, for you to improve your own intuition, your own experiences, your own learning. So if we were to super simplify the concept of intuition, it is the learning you already have in your body and it comes whenever you need it. That's how I see it. I don't know if there's a specific definition or something, but that's how I see it. And now coming on to improvisation, I was looking at another textile artist that I really like, which is she's Ariane Searcher, and I found this really interesting because she was building a textile vessel, and she said, well, some people, what I normally do, she was explaining her process and all that, and she said, what I normally do is improvisational. And some people call it, I had to take notes, so I will read it for you. Some people call it intuitive work, but I don't know how much of intuitive this is, because I'm always thinking about color, shapes, size, and what new materials to incorporate. It is thinking. It's not just what my gut is telling me. So I found that phrase that while she was doing her art, she explained that. I will leave the link in the description in case you want to see it. She was explaining that even though some people call this kind of creation instinctive, intuitive, she said that actually she thinks it's improvisational. So what's the distinction between the two? Well, improvisation is like another layer. We say the instinct is like the base layer, the reptilian brain, the more primate of all, and then we have intuition, which is developed with learnings and experiences. And we could say there's another one that's improvisation, but it's not actually like the next layer. It's a side thing. I left it aside because improvisation is about generally focus on creating things. So it's not about the response in itself, but it's like another side. Improvisation is used a lot in art, and it has to do, as I said, with creation and also with using both your instinct or your intuition, and you say your intuition into art. But it has a specific goal, because I could say I am improvising a choreography, or I am improvising a dance, I am improvising a performance, I am improvising a vessel, a textile vessel, I am improvising a sculpture. So it's more focused on the creation of a specific I don't know if object, because dancing is not an object, but with a specific purpose, I would say, because we could also apply improvisation, for example, at a workshop when you have, I have had this experience in the past when I was several times when I was giving workshops and people had a specific concern and they didn't know how to solve. So I said, okay, let's do something different for you to understand this concept. And I didn't have a prepared exercise for them to do in the classroom. So what I did is I said, okay, you have this problem and we could some kind of do some kind of play that I invented in the moment, and that's improvisation. So it had a specific purpose. I hope it's clear between the three concepts. So yeah, with improvisation, we can use our intuition. All the things we have learned in the past, we can learn, we can apply, for example, our past experiences. For example, if I'm doing a clay vessel and I know that certain components or certain, yes, for example, sometimes I have used math, and you have to have certain percentages of components. You can just have anything that you want, or take mud or stones from the streets or from the countryside to do something. You have to know how to combine things for it to have certain stability, for if you want to, for example, put it in the oven, for it to and to be also, as I say, stable and long lasting. So you know that from experience, or maybe you have studied and also have practiced, and you know from experience and studying, but it's more like from a conscious mind. You have put thought into that, into this intuition, so now you can apply it to improvise other things. And we could also add that again, we have instinct, intuition, and aside we have improvisation. We could say on other side, we could have processes, for example, for the business. So processes and improvisation are two completely different things. They can be related because, for example, this happens a lot in stand-up comedy, that at first you improvise and you start saying, okay, I will say this like this, and then you start practicing, and maybe the first improvisation is awful, but then you start getting learnings from that, and maybe you can write a whole piece, which could be like a process. And also, for example, I haven't done that, but these things that I learned in the workshops, or these specific activities I made for the groups, which I never, I have never written them after the moment, because I just did for the moment, and then I completely forgot. But I could have taken that as an exercise, or for example, as as an exercise, or as a practice to have for specific moments of for a specific concern. So yes, you can translate it into a process also. So we are starting to mix again and even more deeply these concepts into business. And I am really interested into doing that, because I think we can have a much more rich experience from understanding these concepts. So first of all, we do not make mistakes about saying, no, you can do this without really knowing how it works. And again, maybe I'm saying things that as I understand them, but maybe, I don't know, you have learned other things and we could share and understand each other. But I think it's super important to know at least the basics of these concepts. And because it also helps us build even a more solid intuition. Because if we know what it means exactly to to have instinct, to have intuition, to be an improviser, and also to have some processes, we can really understand how they interact and how we can make the best out of them for our personal work, or maybe for your business, or for whatever it is you're doing, or for your art.
And
yes, you of course can say, I don't care, I just do my thing. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to build, as we said in previous episodes, your mind palace, maybe you want more tools or more ideas and more concepts to introduce to your mind. And I think that can be helpful. They can serve you as tools in the future, or to tweak them and create your own tools. So that's my idea. Well, so I think it's mission accomplished, because I wanted to make the distinction about intuition and instinct more deeply. And then we added improvisation and processes, which can also be applied for businesses or also for art. And in future episodes, we will be talking more on that, on how you can improve also processes, maybe to art. And yes, I hope you like this episode. And if you have any comment, or if you have more ideas about it, or maybe you have new updated theories that you can share, because this is from the 70s, I think. I don't remember exactly. Let me look it up. Yes, it's from 1971, the first edition in Spanish. I don't know. In German, it's from the 68, so it's quite an old theory, but I think it helps us understand how our biology and our mind and our body and our conscious are working together, and more interestingly, how we can use them into our daily basis. If you're an artist, into your art; if you're a person who works or who has a business, into your activities. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope you like it. And please comment if you have any other insight, and have fun. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Stay tuned for ULUWUA's next episode.